Hello, everyone. Welcome. If you don't know me, hi. My name is Chaida. I'm a black conservative commentator and writer, and this is my podcast where I discuss relevant issues surrounding people, society, culture, and politics. Welcome back to all my back row patriots. I'm so happy that you all are here to join me, and let's get right into it, shall we? All right. Today we're going to be talking about socialism because I feel that everyone is very comfortable, most people in the mainstream culture. I know if you're on this channel and you're a back row patriot, I know you understand that socialism is bad and that it doesn't breed prosperity for a nation or even in our communities. So, I'm going to need the people who champion democratic socialism or just socialism in general. I'm going to need them to come to the front. Yes, I'm talking to you. If you are a socialist, this is for the people who support socialism because here you're going to get educated today about what socialism is and why it's a terrible ideology to follow and why it doesn't belong in America. So this video is made especially for you. Yeah, so bring all the socialists to the front row. All right. Before we get started, I'm going to be sharing a scripture that says in Acts 2, and you can find it down in 40 verse 44. And I feel that Christians who support socialism often or people who just support socialism in general just kind of miscue this scripture a little bit, like misconstruct it a little bit to fit their ideology. And it says here in 44, because this is the most common, it says here, all the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. They sold their property and possession to give to those who need it. And see, in this scripture right here, in this passage, it talks about how the fellowship of the believers, and how people got together and gave away their property. And a lot people use this scripture as a way to say, see, this is why we need to support socialism. But this isn't socialism in the Bible, in this passage specifically. This is about personal sharing. Yes, it is good to share what you have. And when you're in abundance of something, whether that's money, means, resources, whatever that is, we are called as believers to share what we have. And it's not so the government can take a hold of it and give it out as definitively as they want to. We have to use our own personal discernment when it comes to these things. So, what is socialism? What is it? Because a lot of people have this idea of socialism and what it might look like. And so I have the definition right here because before I started this episode, I decided to do some research and I found the definition. And the definition of socialism is an economic and political system advocating for social or collective ownership of the means of production rather than private control, aiming for more equitable distribution, you know what I'm trying to say, of wealth, resources, and opportunities. So what it is, take me for example. You and I, we decide to go apple picking. So we go to a farm and we decide to go apple picking. I come back and I have 2 apples, just 2. Yeah, even though that's not ideal, this is just an example. I come back with 2 apples. You come back with 8 apples. So, in this context, based on the definition, the government decides, you know what, since you have 8 apples and I only have 2, why don't you give me 3 of your apples? Therefore, we both have 5 apples because 8 minus 3 equals 5. And since I only have 2 plus 3 equals 5. So that way it's even and it's great and it works for everyone. That is socialism. Because the government decided to step in and force you to give me 3 of your apples, even though we went to the apple farm where there's tons of apples and you came back with more apples than me because apparently I just didn't want to pick as many. The government has decided that since you have abundance of more, you need therefore to give me some apples so I can survive. And that way it's more, the resources is more equitable, it's more equal among us. See, another form of socialism is DEI and equity over equality. You cannot tell me that socialism doesn't have, there's some socialist ideology following behind those ideas. DEI really enforces companies and government agencies to hire people to hire people based on characteristics and not on their qualities. Characteristics meaning their skin color, whether they're female versus male, their sexual orientation may play a role in that. Whatever characteristic, whatever traits that a person might have will enhance their profile more than the individual who may be more qualified for a certain position. That is DEI. It stands for didn't earn it, but it also stands for, I forgot what DEI stands for. What does it? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I almost forgot it. It skipped my mind. But I love what College Church said. He said, did not earn it. That's what DEI stands for. Because we are so concerned about fighting a system of systematic racism that we impose more racism into it. And then we have the idea of equity over equality. And what does that mean? Equity over equality. Well, Kamala Harris back in 2020 when she first ran for the president, not first, but ran for the presidential office, she put out this video, and if I can find it, I will share it here about what it
equity. Equality suggests, oh, everyone should get the same amount. The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place. So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we can get the same amount, but you're still going to be that far back behind me. It's about giving people the resources and the support they need so that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
Means was to have equity over equality. So yeah, she puts it more together than I could ever. And it shows that in this is the thing about socialism. All of these politicians, Democratic politicians, who are championing socialism, are trying to use a very colorful language that does not seem so scary. Because when you look at socialism and how it's been implicated in other countries in the world, socialism has led to poverty. It has led to starvation. It has led to a poor educational system. It has led to financial ruins for lots of people. That is, but you wouldn't understand that because in this in America, politicians had painted a rose-colored view of what socialism is. And we don't think that it's going to lead to very mass destruction, but do not let anyone fool you. And when I talk about socialism, socialism is just communism in a nutshell. And what is communism? What does communism means? Well, the definition of communism is right here, and I got it right here. It's a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and work and needs, not abilities and needs. Let's take the mayor-elect Madami. Right now, as I'm recording this episode, he is the mayor-elect, not the mayor yet, but he is becoming the mayor of New York City. Madami says that he's a Democrat socialist, but his policies align with communism because he wants rent freeze, he wants free public transportation, and he wants free daycare, and he wants everyone to be able to live very equally, and public to be owned by the government, public housing to be owned by the government, and that everybody who works is able to be paid accordingly and receive a stipend from the government, basically, and regardless whether they're working or not. See, all of that is communism. And if he had outwardly came out, since he came out as a Democrat socialist, nobody thinks that all of his ideas are bad or downright corrupt. But because he was talking about affordability, he was talking about managing the city budget more, he was talking about all these different things and not being outwardly spoken about what he really believes in. And I think that as he enters office and leads the city, I think people are going to wake up more and more to why it's so important to not go against values that has not only prospered this nation, but also prosper communities. So I don't think that the New York City Mayor-elect Madami, I don't think he's a Democrat socialist. I think he's a communist. I think he believes in communism, and I think as he steps into office, it's going to show more and more why he's just an outright communist. And there was a time in American history that if you were an outspoken communist or socialist, you were basically ostracized from the community. You were outcasted. Nobody would like to associate with you because that's how bad and that's how evil and corrupt communism and socialism is. If you were outspoken communist, they wouldn't associate with you. Also, so to give highlights on different points of the Bible of what socialism is and why it's so important to speak out against socialism, here are a few scriptures that highlights why capitalism is better. We got Second Theologians in chapter 3, verse 10. It talks about if a man refuses to work, then he shall not eat. And then Ephesians 4, in verse 28, it talks about the dignity of work. In Exodus 20, verse 15, it talks about condemning death. And in Matthew 25, verse 27, it talks about investment and the importance of investment. So what is all of this at the end of the day? What does this all really mean? We shall invest in our community. We shall invest. Whether that is through nonprofit organization, getting hands on the donating, or going to church and supporting churches that support communities like single moms and domestic victims and children in low income communities. We need to learn how to invest in our communities. You saw with the government shutdown and how quickly the SNAP benefits were being taken from people. It shouldn't take the government to shut down for a lot of people to realize, hey, people are going to go hungry. People go hungry every single day. But why did it have to take a government shutdown for people to realize that it is a problem that so many people are reliant on the government to feed them, when we should be feeding each other? We have all these businesses that throw away food throughout the day because it's past its sell by date or things like that, and they throw it all away, and they don't give it to the community. Like, I'd rather see a hamburger that gets sent back that didn't get eaten in a restaurant to be given to a homeless person. Like, we don't need to be constantly throwing away food, but that's neither here or there. So it shouldn't take a government shutdown for people to realize that, hey, people who are dependent on the government need us as the community to also step up. It is our responsibility as a community to help each other when we see one of us struggling. And that's not just a moral stance, that is a biblical stance. And it says that in Acts 2, in the scripture that I shared in the beginning of the video, about how people sold the property and possessions in order to help the need. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be giving away our possessions and property and helping those who need. If we have food in the fridge, food that we're not eating, we need to take that food and we need to give it to someone else. If we have money in our bank accounts and we have lots of it and we have more than what we can do with it, then we need to take that money and invest it in our community. That's what that means. And not talking about communism, not talking about socialism. I'm talking about giving. And I'm talking about prosperity, and I'm talking about investment. And we're not gonna get that from communism, and we're definitely not gonna get that from socialism. Okay? So thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for staying as long as you did, entertaining me as long as you did. So I hope that anything from this video really resonate with you, and I hope that for all the people who came to the front of the row got a little understanding about what socialism and communism is, because I feel like a lot of us don't really understand it, or we think that it's some kind of hippie, we all come together type of situation. It's like, no. So I hope this episode, please be sure to like this episode. This episode would resonate with you. Leave a comment and also share this episode. And always, this is her time and this is her America. Love you all, patriots, back row patriots. All right, see you next time. Bye. Back again. Wow, you're amazing. Please be sure to give today's episode a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you are new here, subscribe so you can stay tuned for more episodes. Want to get to know me a little bit more? You should follow me on social media. I provide the links to all my social media platforms in the description of each podcast episode. Did today really resonated with you? Then you'll even love my deeper dives on my Substack. So please be sure to check it out when you can. Always remember, stay rooted in truth, stand firm in grace. And always remember, this is her time